Welcome back to another episode of Iron Therapy. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined by our RxMuscle staff psychotherapist, Lesley Timbol, and our good friend, Gregg Valentino. What's up, Gregg?
How you guys doing? How you doing, Lesley?
Great. Nice to see you, Gregg, and thanks for coming on.
Now, people might be saying, what is psychologically wrong with Gregg Valentino today that he needs to be on the show? There's nothing. You're so good. But I thought a great topic would be to talk about public ridicule as a celebrity. It seems like celebrities are loved, they're hated, maybe hated just as much as they are loved at the same time by sometimes the same people. And, people think that celebrities are kind of like immune to the effects of being hated or talked about or, put on TMZ and all these other crazy, gossipy rags. Gregg, you've kind of experienced fame, fortune, and misfortune. And, you were on the news when you got arrested, you on a lot of talk shows. Talk to me about being a celebrity. I mean, we all kind of crave being a celebrity or thrive to be that. And then when we get it, it ain't so great sometimes, right?
Well, I'm waiting for the fortune part. You know what I'm saying? The shuttle part.
Well, you were making money for a while, when you were selling drugs, right?
Yeah, well, no, I made a lot of money. Cops came and took it away. But, it's a strange thing. I mean, like when I first, long time ago, like in 2000, 2001, they wrote that whole story when I first, when I was all over the TV and I was all over, like Steve Blackman hired me for the magazine. Testosterone magazine wrote that famous article that if you click on right now, it still comes up, the most hated man in bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Because, because of the way I looked and everything. So, obviously that alone, when people Google me to this day, if you click on Gregg Valentino, let me see what he's up to or whatever, if that's the article that comes up first. And most people would freak out over shit like that. And I look at it like this. There's no such thing as bad publicity unless it's your obituary. So I don't really let things bother me, Dave. And I know you're like that a lot too. Obviously I know you personally, and the guys who watch these shows don't really know that you let a lot of things just roll off your back like I do. You know what I mean? And is that the article? I can't see it.
That's the article.
Yeah. So as soon as you click on me, the most hated man. Now, most people, especially in this sport with bodybuilding is a sport of egos. You know what I mean? That's why we do this shit, because we want to look jacked and we give a shit about what everybody else thinks. You know what I mean? The worst thing you could say to a bodybuilder is, dude, you look like you're not as big, or you look like you're shrinking a little bit. And that makes guys like fucking crazy, So this is definitely ego-driven sport. So a lot of these guys can't take criticism. If you even talk to some of these pro bodybuilders about drugs or steroids, they get crazy. So you can imagine a celebrity being put in that position who everybody's always bowing down to and kissing their ass, or you're on TV or you whatever. But a lot of those celebrities really can't take any kind of criticism or are like mental cases, you know what I mean, about it. Like, for instance, like even Kim Kardashian, she will not allow you to take pictures because she only wants her pictures out there because, she got that pumped ass and everything like that. And, she don't want you to really see what Kim Kardashian really looks like. When they do the show, you never see those girls looking busted. They wake up in the morning with makeup on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And Joe Rogan actually talked about this, where that if you were somewhere, like when she's on a beach or something, they'll actually cordon off that area so nobody can sit to go, oh, look, Kim Kardashian, and snap a picture because they don't want pictures taken of themselves. Right. So that, I think that bodybuilding's similar. Like, because we're in the spotlight, there's a lot of people have egos. I have no ego. Look what the fuck I look like, My girlfriend talks shit about me when we have sex because she knows it turns me on. You know what I mean? She'll tell me, you fucking loser. Look at you, you ugly fucking old man. And then, like, all of a sudden, I'll be like, holy shit, I just came. No, I'm just kidding. But,
What's that about, Lesley? Explain that one to me. I want to know. Is that in your textbook, Lesley?
Well, you know what it is? Dave, I don't take myself too seriously. Like, I don't think I'm like fucking, the greatest thing. These like I know my worth, but I don't see myself through rose-colored glasses. I know my faults, and my faults are, I work on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't you know, to me, family's everything and all that shit.
What was
Bodybuilding
the
is
most hurtful thing you ever had someone say about you that kind of bothered you?
well. I'll be honest with you. The only thing I don't like is when I was on, you know, the MD forums and people would talk shit about my children. Like, I had, my daughter was little at the time, and they would saying like, they would talk shit about the kids because, I don't like. You're not really hurting me because I know that you're just a nobody and you're just a voice talking shit. But what I don't like is that you're talking about kids and stuff, and they would say sexual shit about my kids,
Right.
And then I'd have to I'm sure you've had, Dave, where people said shit, like, oh, look at you, whatever, or something, maybe about your kid. I don't care I know. Listen, I remember when I drained the arm, one of the things was I was actually in a deli in New York City, right? And they had these mirrors. Everything was like mirrored over where the deli was.
Yeah.
And I was getting a sandwich, and I happened to glance over like this towards the mirror. And it's a mirror that's like, it got the corners. So you can see like the front of you, the side of you, even the back of you. You know what I mean? It was because it was a mirrored wall like that. And all of a sudden I looked and I was like, holy shit. Just that left arm, which was hanging because it was fucking hanging like a bag of fucking shit. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like moving it around and I'm looking and I'm like, holy shit, that looks like shit. And I didn't know it was like, I was like delusional. Like I didn't know it was that bad. You know what I mean? The one arm was really like fucking, so I ran home and I talked to Bob Bonham on the phone. God rest his soul, by the way. He's been dead a year, October 3rd. And I'm on the phone and I'm telling him, dude, I'm draining this arm. Dude, look at this shit. It looks terrible. And he's like, dude, I've been telling you that looks like shit for a long time. He goes, I've been, so I started fucking draining it. And that's, and that's how I filled up that big jug with like, it started out as a glass, then it was a mayonnaise jar, and it was big, like big, like a quart, and it was like all dead blood and shit. And that's what I did with the, I shake it like this, and I'm showing it to the, the camera, and then I videotaped myself doing it. That's where the needle was like it was bending like a fish hook, and I was, sticking it in like that, and then I did the TLC show, and I gave that video to Bob. Because I said, Bob, look at this. This is the sickest thing I've ever seen, right? So when we were at Strong and Shapely, I was filming this TV show for the BBC called The Other Side of Steroids, like The Other Side of Victory, all this bullshit, right? Yeah. And Bob goes, oh, I got to show you this video of him. You're not going to believe this. And he shows him the video of me draining the blood, right? So they're like, oh, can we have that video? Oh, that's amazing. That's going to, So I said, I don't give a shit. It was a VHS. You can remember that shit was taped in like 1999.
Oh, yeah.
I still get people to this day saying to me, are you okay? How's your arm doing? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It was like 20-something years ago. But anyway, so the video, they give the video. He gives the video to the guy from Firecracker Films, that's who did the BBC. And next thing I know, I'm on this show, The Man Whose Arms Exploded, which I never filmed that particular show. So when I'm at home and my friends are like, yo, dude, you're on TLC right now. And I'm going, for what? And they're like, something about your arm exploding and the man whose arms exploded and shit like that. And I'm like, but I never did no show like that. It can't be me. And my friend's like, dude, it's you. It's my childhood friend. It's nothing to do with bodybuilding. He's like, it's you. My father called me from Florida. He told me Gregg's on TV. So I click on the thing and I see the man whose arms exploding. I see me on there, So they use that footage, kind of like in the movie Mr. Deeds with Adam Sandler, like where Adam Sandler goes up in a burning building. He saves the woman. He throws her cat out the window to save it and all this stuff. And it made it look, they reversed the whole thing, and it made it look like he started the fire, tried to kill the woman, tried to throw the cat out the window to kill it and all this other shit. And it was all bullshit, all right, because they had it out for Mr. Deeds. Well, I almost felt like, holy shit, but I wasn't upset. But people kept making a big thing about it, and then locked Synthol because they see this giant balloon arm, and I held it up in the mirror, and I'm videotaping it, and you see a little blood dripping down this giant balloon, and people are like, look, Synthol, So I'm like, wait a minute, whoa. First of all, my arm never exploded. You understand? Yeah, that thing, that. Right there. See, I was in the bathroom there, and I was showing like Bob. I'm on a phone, and I'm showing, on a phone and on a video camera, and I'm telling Bob, look, watch, look at that fucking blue. I'm going to drain that right now. So I started draining it, and I'm draining it, and I'm draining it, and I'm draining it. See, that's a different thing. That's two different arms. You know what I'm saying? I had taken steroids locally in my right arm, and I gotten an infection. And an emergency room doctor actually cut my bicep instead of just lancing it. So ever since then, anytime I got an infection, I just drained the shit myself. But they mixed two stories together, and it made it look like you can see it's not the same arm. That whole arm was hit. I was hit on the side with a bat by my son, who was 9 at the time. That same son right now is 32. Okay, so that's how long ago that was. Yeah. And he didn't do it purposely. Let it go because I was helping a catcher during a little league game. So I drained it of blood. I drained that hematoma, which looked horrendous. By the way, it was horrendous looking. But I was walking around with this giant left arm, And at first, when you pose it, you see this big fucking ball. I'm thinking, holy shit, look at that shit. Look at this. Look at this softball. And I didn't realize how bad it actually looked until I hit that mirror. And then, when I drained it and they put it all over, like, Were
you embarrassed by that? Did that bother you?
It only bothered me because they didn't say the truth and people didn't believe it. People thought first of all, some people thought it was an infection, which it was not. Then, the Synthol shit went everywhere, and I became the poster boy for Synthol. And I got the video. I'll give it to you, Dave. There's blood. It's blood. There's no oil coming out of there. There was no pus. It was just dead hematoma blood, and I filled up a jug. I even showed a jug. I'm shaking it like this. I'm like, look at all this. And I say on the TLC show, look, it looks like a murder scene. Look at all that blood, because it was, squirting it. It was missing. It was hitting on the floor and shit, So I'm showing the floor, and it looks like a murder scene.
I remember.
But they twisted that, and then everybody else on the internet caught on to that, and they took that one picture you just showed, right. And people just Synthol masturbated to it, like, oh God, look at that, and then Testosterone magazine comes out with the article, I'm a disgrace, and this and that, and the most hated man. And
so, how do you deal with that psychologically?
Well, I don't let things, because, Dave.
It has to bother you a little bit, though, at the time.
It bothers me. The only thing that bothers me is when people are so, back then people were so adamant, it's Synthol. Like, you don't even know me. You have no fucking clue the shit I do. You know what I mean? I don't care what anybody thinks, but it would get to me at first, I'm tougher now. What I'm saying is I don't care what anybody thinks now. But back then it bothered me when people kept pushing that Synthol narrative. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Synthol. First of all, the TLC show never said it was Synthol. They said it was an infection, which was wrong too. I didn't get an infection, and my bicep didn't explode. None of that happened. I drained it of blood. You know what I mean?
You prevented it from exploding.
Right, I prevented it from exploding. Now, I loaded my
man whose arm almost exploded. That's what the name of the show should have been.
It should have said that, but they didn't want to, because you know why? It's juicy. You know what I'm saying?
It's catchy. It's the clickbait. That's
right. Not for nothing.
Before clickbait even existed, it was clickbait.
That show played for like 4 years straight, and it was like one of the most popular shows on TLC ever. And because
they should have paid you royalties on your video. That's what you should. Yeah.
You know me, Dave. I'm so bad with all that. Social media.
Let me ask Lesley a question. Lesley, when you hear a story like this, I mean, Gregg's downplaying it a little bit, but at the time, I know it bothered him a lot. I mean,
it did. I'm saying now I let it roll off me.
Oh, because now you're looking back, you're like, it was idiotic.
Dave, you're so, when people talk about you with the GH bullshit and stuff, you're so used to it. You almost like you can almost mouth the words that are going to come out of their mouth, right?
Because people create their own narrative. They don't know the truth, and they don't even, the truth is they don't even care. They don't want to know the truth. They want their narrative sounds better, to them.
Right.
So what do you do, Lesley? How do you deal with something like, that's so scandalous, so like damaging to your, I guess, ego, to your reputation, potentially, to maybe your business? How do you come back from something like that? I mean, Gregg took it and turned it into a positive, but not everyone can do that,
And keep in mind why that happens, though, Dave, because there's one thing about being accused of something that you did that maybe you weren't proud of, but being accused of something that is inaccurate is just, it's a double whammy. It's like, you know what, at least if it was something that, I did and I screwed up, okay, well, I can own it. I learned from it. But if I'm being accused of something that I'm not doing or I didn't do, you feel like your back's against the wall. Who's going to believe me? It's like, some people are going to believe you and some people aren't.
Of course.
So
it's like, when I got accused of selling fake GH, believe me, I sold a lot of growth hormone. 99.99% of it was real. If there was one bottle that I didn't know about, great. Someone sold me some fake stuff, but that was the story that was propagated. Gregg knows who I got all the stuff from. So
yeah, I do know, and I know Dave was legit, dude. Let me tell you, Dave was getting shit from the same source I was. We were all together. But can I say one thing?
Yes.
Lesley, maybe this might help. The one thing that I had going for me was I was also like, that show actually spawned a lot of other shows. I was on Jay Leno, Carson Daly, Tyra Banks. I've been in a billion shows, right? And so I've had a chance that other people don't get. I was in the magazine. I wrote for Muscular Development for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? So I had a voice, so I could still come out there. So I gave people a chance to learn to like me, if you know what I mean. Like, oh, I love that article. You know what? This guy ain't the fuck up I thought he was with all that stuff. Oh, I get that even today. Dude, when you first came out, I hated you. I thought you were this crazy fucking guy. You were disgusting. You know what I mean? I hated your guts. And now, dude, I loved your article. I love all your videos. You're a funny guy. You seem to get along with everybody. So I actually, because I had a voice in the media, there's people who don't have that. You could put that out there about them, and you never hear from them. So that's the last thought, if that makes sense to you.
Well, yeah, but you were also smart because you didn't try to defend necessarily what you did. You kind of made it into I was an asshole and did all this stupid shit.
Exactly. I still say to this day.
Most people cannot do that, though. You completely diffused it. Whereas most people want to defend themselves and try to, clear their name, so to speak, and you just can't do that because once you go into that area, you're fighting a losing battle because people believe what they want to believe. I mean, so Lesley, how do you deal with it? Because not everyone can do with what Gregg did. Gregg can laugh at himself. A lot of people can't,
And, that goes all power to Gregg that he took something and he made something of it and you had opportunities. But for people who don't have opportunities, it's, I tell people 3 words: consider the source. Who are the people that are saying these negative things to you? Do they know you? Chances are they don't. As far as on a personal level, they might know you from a social media level. And then to say, why would, what's their motive for saying those things about you? There's a word called trolls, internet trolls. And it's just saying that's more a reflection. So when people, whether it's, people like Gregg, celebrities, whomever, when you're in the public eye and you've got people watching you, you have to accept not everyone's going to like you. No matter what you do, you can say everything perfectly or whatever. You're going to rub someone the wrong way. That's part of the deal. In fact, I tell people, I kind of look forward to having trolls because then I know I'm successful. Because if you don't have a troll or two, you're not successful on social media. So take that as a compliment because that means you're ruffling some feathers. You're getting out there. There are a lot of bored people in this world and they have a lot of low self-esteem. So rather than working on themselves, what do? They attack other people. Now, I think that's a really cowardly approach, but you have to see through why people do things. So that's what I mean by consider the source. These aren't close friends of yours.
Plus, Lesley, people believe they're so stupid. I'm sure the program that Gregg was on, I forget who did the show on him.
Which one?
The one with the arm, the man with the exploding arms. Who did that?
It was TLC.
So TLC does this show. TLC didn't dislike Gregg. They weren't trying to hurt him in any way.
No.
They were looking for ratings.
That's right.
The idiots who watch the show and believe everything 100% that was depicted there, those are the morons that that he's dealing with. It's not the show didn't try to paint him as a villain. I mean, I don't think they believed he was a villain. They made him the villain because it got them ratings.
100%.
But
and that's how you make money. Negative publicity sometimes.
Yeah. So look at poor what's his name, Colin Van Moger. We talked about him before, Lesley. This poor guy can't catch a break, but he keeps fucking up because I think it's he almost starting to believe the stories he's hearing out there that he's a fuck up, and he thinks he's a fuck up now in his head. Like, how do you prevent yourself from going down the Colin Van Moger path of making it worse and go in the Gregg Valentino path and make it work to your advantage?
Seeking the proper supports well ahead of time. And I mean social supports. So not to say that Callum didn't have people around him that didn't care, but whether they need to interfere a lot earlier, like much earlier, and really raise the gavel and do family meetings if need be, where we confront, in this case, Callum. But the other piece of support is professional supports. He needs to be accountable to someone other than his close social circle. And that will really, then there'll be some serious consequences if he doesn't follow. And this is just for Callum's purposes. But, you know, what I saw recently, yeah, he keeps making the same mistakes. So it's hard for people to have empathy for him because he keeps fucking up. And these are like dumb, like these are things that he didn't need to do. And he made all these promises about, you know, getting into rehab. And it was a very short period of time, my understanding, he was in rehab. I don't know if he's checking in with anybody, but he keeps making the same mistakes. So it's hard for people to have empathy. But the thing is, here's the thing. The public can be very fickle. So what I mean by that, if Colin did somehow get the proper supports and he was open to doing the work, because it's, you know, it's like a bodybuilder saying they want to be the best on stage while you're doing all your shit. Like, you know, are you crossing off all your T's and dotting your I's? Or are you missing a couple of things here? Right. So if he did put himself in a better position and made better choices, he would have a big cheerleading squad.
Oh, absolutely. Look what happened to Aaron. Look what happened to Aaron Singerman before he went to prison. I mean, here's a guy who was making a ton of money. Redcon won, but he was facing those charges from Blackstone from years earlier. The guy's on probation. He goes out. He crashes, you know, boat. Then 2 weeks later, he crashes his car. You know, I mean, it was like because he allowed the voice of public opinion to dictate and to influence him and make him actually believe, you know what? Yeah, I am a loser. You know,
but Dave, that's
like,
why I don't do party drugs, though.
Yeah.
Because when you do party drugs, by the way, the other day on your show, I had a crumb of an Adderall. I don't even like Adderall. I'll take ephedrine any day. Ephedrine. Sorry, I said it. Ephedrine. I'll take an ephedrine hydrochloride any day of the week because I like to feel up and stuff. I hate anybody. I don't know how people smoke pot and feel. Meanwhile, my daughter's the biggest pothead. But anyway, you know, she fights MMA. Or something about all those people with the pot. But the thing is, that when you take drugs, you are no longer in control. Like if you drink or get drunk, you are no longer in control of your own faculties. So some of these guys, if they would, first of all, if you lay down with dogs, you catch fleas, right? So you got to get rid of the environment around you. If you're hanging out like Colin Van Moger, I don't know him or anything like that, but I see that his brother has issues and this one has issues and that one has. So obviously you're around a lot of people who have issues and that shit jumps on you, okay? First of all. Second of all, if you're on any drugs take away your control. You no longer can control what you say, what you do. You know, that's why people use, like, they'll commit a heinous crime like rape or something.
Titus and Kelly Ryan. Remember that?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Dude, Kelly Ryan was the nicest fucking girl on the planet. And you know her. You and I both know her personally. So I knew Kelly personally. And I could tell you she was a great girl. You know that. And you know what? You lay down with dogs. Craig was the demon, and that demon will jump on you. So the first thing you got to do is get rid of the environment you're in. You got to get the bad people around. Melly Mel and I were at the VMA Awards in, like, I don't remember when it was. You're talking maybe 2004, 2005, and Bobby Brown showed up, and him and Melly Mel were like arguing over the Yankees and Red Sox. I swear to God, it was crazy. But they were arguing, and I was there, and all his crew that was there, they would come up to me, yo, man, what's up, man? There's some that had no teeth in their mouth. They stunk like alcohol. And these are guys who got out of a limousine with Bobby Brown, right? And they're over there talking to me. And they're like, dude, I used to read your column in jail and shit. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm thinking in my head, I'm sitting there like, yeah, thanks for reading the column. But I'm looking at them, and I'm going, holy fuck, there was like 20 of them, too. And I'm like, you fucking people, the guys that he's hanging out with, like, you know, he wasn't there with others. He was there with hood rats. But I mean, like, you know that they're there for the ride because he's got the scuttle. And I'm saying to myself, my God, this guy, you're hanging out with all these losers. And sure enough, Right after that, Whitney Houston goes, his daughter kills herself, and all these people around him. Dude, and that's what it is. It's your environment, the people you hang out with. You're only as good as the fleas, on the dog that you're laying with. And, and if you're on drugs, like all these guys were on drugs, so Bobby Brown was lit, you know what I'm saying? And if you're on that shit, you no longer the drug controls what you do. And it brings out the Mr. Hyde in you, and as far as the hatred goes, I had this quote that I put in Muscular Development. Success causes envy, hatred, and jealousy from the unsuccessful. And it's always the people that are like sitting at home. Why ain't I on TV? Why ain't I writing a column for the magazine? Look at this guy. I could fucking, dude, you could never write the columns I wrote because of the way I didn't write columns if I had big arms. I wrote, my shtick, you know what I'm saying?
And your experiences too. No one had the experiences you had, so.
Right. So I talked about all the different things. I've been around the bodybuilding scene, since the 70s, and I competed in the AAU in the 70s. In 1977, I was 16 years old. But the thing is, that's neither here nor there. The thing is that I think that with people that feel like, there's something wrong with me. Why does this keep happening? Like a common man monger or something like that. First thing you got to do is got to clean up your act, get off drugs, I think. And you got to get away from the people that are pulling you down, man. You got to get away from that. You can't keep going back to that same crowd.
And support, I think Leslie's right. Support system is huge because.
But if your support
prevents you from going back.
Up, if they're fucked up, the people look at the Bobby Brown thing, okay? If they're fucked up, right? It's going to jump on you.
Yeah.
The fleas are going to jump on you. You can't hang out with a bunch of old losers and think like, well, I'm the only winner in the crowd, because they're going to bring you down. They're going to make you do things, and what are you attracted to that for? You understand? Dave, it's like our friend, the one, I don't want to say his name on here, but my close friend who, got out of jail, was so devastated. He spent 6 years in prison. He was so devastated about it. And I used to tell him, I love you, bro, please. Well, because all of a sudden he's starting to make money again, and a lot of it, and I'm like, come on, man. And he's like, no, I'm not doing anything. I tell him, stay away from that shit. And he didn't stay away from it. You understand what I'm saying? And now he's back. He's back in hell. And he's going to be there for like 20 years. You know what I mean?
20 years he's going to do?
Yeah. Wow. Because why? Because that stuff that's coming over the border. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Fucking around with that. It wasn't juice. But the thing is that, yes, you said it, I did. But you know what I'm saying? And I love this guy. This guy's one of my best friends in the world. He was a great guy. But you went back to those. I told you, stay away from those demons. Those they're all bad. And oh, yeah, I know. You're right. I said, you didn't like that, right? See, that's what I don't understand. Maybe Lesley can talk about that. Is how when somebody, listen, I never liked being in jail. So I said, I'm never coming back here. You know what I mean? And I could have gone back. Dude, I could be living in a fucking mansion right now. If I went back and started making that kind of money I was making. You know what I mean? I was making a lot of money. Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't want to go back because it wasn't worth my life. And I learned from my experiences. Maybe that's something I picked up from my parents, who always, were very adamant about, you stick your hand in a fire and it burns it. You don't want to go, oh shit, that really hurt bad. Let me try that again. You know what I mean? But so many of these guys, you would figure Colin Van Munger, we'll use him as example. Once, you're jumping out windows, doing all this stuff, and please, Colin, I'm not talking shit about you. I feel bad for you. But if you keep doing the same thing, why are they constantly go back to the same bad demons, doing the same shit? You know what I mean? And
why, Lesley?
Keep in mind why they started all this behavior in the first place. People do drugs or drink because they want to forget. They want to avoid dealing with some real shit. They have to deal with the real shit first before they can do anything else. This is a cover for them so they can avoid doing it. It's basically a huge procrastination technique. Right. This is why when you try to have these positive conversations with them, Greg, they say, okay, yeah, cognitively it makes sense. I know I shouldn't do it. But because they didn't deal with the shit let's call it about the root cause. You see the tree, it's not the tree you have to worry about, it's the roots.
Right.
We have to get the real cause of that. If we're not dealing with the cause, it doesn't matter what you do to the tree, the roots are still shit. You got to deal with the shit. You have to unearth it, do some professional work with it, resolve it once and for all, get some strategies in place, put some like to your point, get rid of the toxic people in your plate, they say it's like, you're a reflection of the 5 people you hang around with, right? Sure. So it's like you want to surround yourself with some healthy people. Not everyone's going to be super healthy, but you try to get yourself with as many positive sources as you can, both personal and professional, but do the fucking work. People are so scared of doing the fucking work to work on themselves, look in the mirror, know they get scared shitless, and they end up doing drugs and drinking instead. So there's a difference between social drinking and then using it as a crutch. And the problem is people use too much of this as a crutch.
So Lesley, you're basically saying, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is what I always believed, was that they don't really like themselves. And there's so they're trying to hide from their own reality. Because my friend kept saying to me, I'm broke, bro. I'm broke. Look at me. Borrowing mom's car or some shit like that. And they didn't like it, but they don't believe that they can do something on their own to get back in, so he went back to the what he knew, you know what I mean? And I think that these people don't like themselves, the Bobby Browns, the people like that, the Colin Monger. I think that's what you're talking about when you say get back to the root, right? Because obviously they're trying to cover something. And when you take drugs, you're trying to mask maybe your reality. You know what I'm saying? I knew a guy when I used to work at a strip club when I was young. I was 18 years old going to school. I brought one of them girls to my senior prom, by the way. So my whole life has always been crazy. But I used to work at a strip club, and there was a kid who won the Golden Gloves, and he was a boxer. And he would get so polluted when he was up there that he would get in fights. And he wouldn't even, he would never throw a punch. He would stand there like this and go, and guys would punch him. And I've seen him get knocked out 10 times. He'd be out like this, like a light in a parking lot. And I'd be standing above him going, and I'd look at the kid that knocked him out, and I'd be like, you have no idea. Because if he wasn't drunk, and he would have wiped the fucking parking lot up with you. But the thing is, this guy hated himself for some reason. We don't know. I don't know. But I think that he would get so drunk and he would take a beating. This is a guy who could give a beating. It's almost like Conor McGregor getting in a fight and allowing some street punk nobody to kick his ass. He didn't even throw a punch back. He just takes it. Now he's laying out there cold like this in a parking lot. So it's got to be that they really don't like themselves. And I think that might be it. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. It's extremely low self-confidence and low self-esteem. They don't believe they can change. They're like, you know what? I've been this way for so many years. I'm a hopeless case. No one can help me. So I'm just destined to follow this road. So I just got to suck it up and just do the best that I can. So I agree with you, Greg. The problem is that they're giving up. They're giving up. They're not trying every avenue. And that's why I'm saying, getting more positive supports, including professional support, is the way to go. I know it's scary. You have to dig up demons, but it's time to hog tag those demons, because you need to control them versus them controlling you.
Right.
And that can be taught. It can be taught. It's not easy, but it can be taught.
I agree. I feel like you just got to see. I had a great upbringing. So there's a lot of people did not have a great upbringing. My girlfriend didn't have a great upbringing. I had a great upbringing, great parents. I was my own. I'm the contractor of my own, destruction there for a while. But I also, I also care about my life enough that I knew I had to make a change, that I could not keep doing the things that I did. You understand? And even with the steroids, I could, my body responds. Dave, I got really good genetics. Yeah. I respond really easy. I could go out right now and be super jacked if I wanted. But you know what the problem is? I don't want to kill myself. I'm 62 years old, and I feel exactly the way Dave does. You see Dave post pictures of his kids or whatever, and, that's the light of his life. Fuck, the Mr. Olympia don't mean as much as, you're seeing Logan sitting there with a big smile on his face, or your daughters. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the greatest feeling. So, and I put my focus into other things. I think if people created other things in their life, other like roads out of there, they might be able to, be able to let go of these demons. When you put yourself in a hell and in a hole where that's all there is, you have to create a new road. You got to make a road out of there. Dave, you have kids and everything like that. You are the original mass monster. You, Victor Richards, you were so fucking You were 300 and something pounds in the friggin' 90s. You know what I'm saying? And you never got fat. You were ripped. You could very easily go back to that. And you know,
oh, yeah. I'd be dead. I know I
I'm
would.
sure there's a lot of people, Dave, how could you not like get back to that? Like, why would you want to look thin or whatever? Because now the main goal in your life is you're making a schedule. So you see little Logan smile with the great
stay alive. We got to keep ourselves alive, right? For them.
Right. I'm not gonna get jacked so I could be the biggest guy in the coffin like all these other bodybuilders that we see that can't let go of that. That's all they got. It's like George Foreman.
You'd be the biggest guy in the coffin. That's what happens, you know. Unfortunately,
that's what exactly. That's what happens. Like I was just saying, George Foreman was trying to fight for the title again when he was 50 years old. Dude, you got the Foreman grill. You got all these other things going on. Go that direction. Stop trying to catch, like that. You're not 25 anymore. And I just feel like if people would develop other avenues in your life and go for it. You know what I mean? If
also,
you're gonna
don't allow the good opinion of others to negatively influence your path that you're taking. And I think that, getting back to the original, theme of the show, you could be the most popular guy on social media, but there's always going to be people that hate you. One little scandal will come out where you said some word to some person that was misconstrued, and now you're the most hated person on the internet. You cannot allow that to negatively affect you.
Never.
And I know it's hard. A lot of people have very thin skin. I know people who you can't say anything to, or they take it the wrong way. And I have thick skin, and it still bothers me sometimes, at least initially. Now I could give a shit, but things bother. You'd be lying if you said nothing bothered you. But some people are bothered by everything. But if you allow everything to bother you, you cannot function. And you know what? You're now the person that should be, shame on you. How dare you allow other people's opinions or whatever to change the course of your life?
And just to piggyback on the analogy of the road and the path you guys are talking about, it's nice that we all have different roads, but for people who don't know what their roads will be, the alternative roads, that's where you get a GPS like myself to help you navigate a different road.
There you go. Very good analogy.
That's what I wrote that back. I said my mental GPS is directed now in a different way. Because, a lot of celebrities, you don't know. You see, this is the thing, Lesley, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this. There's a lot of celebrities that we see. Oh, look at him. He's got everything. The hot girl, the this, the that. But you don't know privately what he has inside himself. That's why a lot of these people are messes. You find out Demi Lovato, people like that, they got to go into like a nut house. And they have all these alcoholic.
Look at Alec Baldwin. The poor guy shot someone by accident on the set. People think he's a murderer now. I mean, like he purposely did it.
But he opened his mouth and he created his own, talking about people with guns and, this and that.
But he's got a big mouth in general. But I'm saying there's no way he shot that
his wife with the fake Spanish accent and all that stuff. How you say a cucumber? Bullshit. You're an American. You grew up here. You were born here. You born here. Now she's like normal, no more accent and shit. But what I'm saying is, people like that, when all you do is attack people, because that's all he did was attack Trump. Yeah. Trump's a piece of shit. I hope he dies. I mean, when you wish death on somebody, look, I don't wish. Me. I'm not Obama I'm not a Biden person or Obama person, but I wouldn't wish death on them. I actually hope they succeed because, obviously rooting against Joe Biden, who I do not like, and I'm a Trump guy, sorry, but I do feel like rooting against Joe Biden to be rooting against your country, but the guy keeps screwing up himself. But what I'm saying is, there's people who hate, and when because you project stuff. Alec Baldwin projected all this stuff and his hatred. I hope Trump dies. You know what I mean? What? You don't have to like Trump, but you really want him to die? I mean, he's that bad. You're going to compare him to Adolf Hitler, who killed 40,000 Jews in a or whatever the number was.
Jews,
millions of Jews, whatever the hell it was. You're going to compare him to that? You know what I mean? First of all, his daughter's an Orthodox Jew, and so he's the first Jew-loving Nazi I've ever seen, Trump. But what I'm saying is, it's all bullshit. But when you think about how bad some of these haters are. They wish death on you. You know what I'm saying? They wish, they're so jealous. You know what I'm saying? Dave, it's just like, you can't even, if you talk about your supplements, which are great, you know, by the way, I need protein because I'm stuck with no protein powder over here. But your supplements, which are great. If you said, here, look, take, you know, I got this Fiberlace, which all of us take. I take it. I'm almost out of it too, by the way, tell your wife. But but you know, you think there's people who be like, look at fucking Palumbo, the snake oils. You know, you see the comments. And I'm like, how is it snake oil? The guy, what do you expect the guy to do? The guy's got great shit, but you're so fucking what? If he sent you a free bottle,
I'm not allowed to make any money, Greg. You know that. I should give it all away for free to everyone.
Dave, success causes envy, hatred, and jealousy for the unsuccessful. Make sure you quote me on that because I made that up for muscular development way back when they were.
I'm gonna put it on my wall behind me right there.
But it's true. If people want you to fail. If somebody heard that, like, oh shit, did you hear that? Species Nutrition, yeah, they went out of business. There are people who would masturbate to that. I mean, that steak salad. But you got the best supplements, and I'm not just saying it. I'll go over there and fucking get them and bring them here. I'll show you. You know, my
I know you use them. No, we know you use them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got the empty container, dude. Me, Jimmy the Bull, all of us use the Fiberlace, but you'll get people. Look at, he's trying to sell that. What the fuck? I mean, how little is your penis that you got to sit there and talk about a guy who's, you know, what do you expect him to do? I mean, I don't want to promote my supplement, God forbid, you know, and it's something that works, you know. So the hatred, I'm saying, I'm not here trying to promote your supplement.
You know what it is, Greg? Because people hate their jobs and they're envious of the fact that, you know, maybe you and I can do something that we really enjoy doing and actually get paid for it. And they want that more than anything. And a lot of people are jealous because of that, because they're too scared to do what they love and try to make a living from that. So they condemn other people that have had the audacity or the balls to, you know, to do their own thing and actually succeed with it. And I understand the mindset there, but it's, you know, if anyone is watching this and that resonates with them, you know, think about it. If you're not happy with what you do, change it. It's never too late to change, you know.
100%, man. It's 100%. I just, you know, you see just the people that hate you're that bored. And you know what's funny? They're all cowards. Because Dave, anybody will throw you under the bus for your stuff. Or whenever I see a post, it's never by the guy's name. Venom 1, 2, 3, Joe Matarazzi, you know, whatever it is. It's never ever. They don't have the balls. Get on there with your own name and talk shit to me or talk shit to Dave or say what you got to say under your own name. I don't want to see no Iron Warrior saying or whatever. I'm making that name up if there is. You know what I mean? I don't
Leslie said it right. Leslie said it right. You know what? If they're not talking about you, then you did something wrong. So if they are talking about you, you must have made it in a sense.
Right.
And, that's really the take-home message here. How do you deal with public scrutiny? You accept it. You let it roll off you. You know that you've made it because if people are talking about you, you did something right. And that's what it's all about. Greg, thank you for joining us today. And,
yes, thank you, Greg.
So honest with us. And
thank you, Lesley. Lesley, I'm sorry I don't shut up. I'm sorry I don't shut up. I'm sorry I talk over Dave. We'll hear that in the comments.
We're Italian. That's what we do. We talk over each other.
They don't realize that's what we do. We're just Italians from New York and shit. The Italian from New York is different from Italian from like I'm Italian. I'm from Illinois. You know, you're not Italian. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? We're Italian. And when you're Italian from New York, it's a different story. And it's gravy, not sauce.
That's right. Gravy, not sauce. Thank you, Greg, for joining us. Thank you, Lesley, as always. And we're going to wrap this show up. And if you guys have any ideas for future shows or topics, please put them in the comments below. I'm Dave Palumbo with Gregg Valentino and Lesley Timbol. We'll see you next time.